Good morning, everybody. I hope we're all well. Usually, I give this another couple of minutes. I'm actually 1 minute early on the starter video thingy, so don't shoot me. What I might do is just scan that back a minute and let you listen to those beautiful tunes again for a minute. We've got quite a lot of registrations for this particular webinar, so I don't want to give it all away too early. So I'm going to resume the share and we'll go for 1 more minute. I think that's going now. There we go. Ta-da! All done. Morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. We've got a really exciting webinar for you today. I'm joined today by my colleague, Darren, who is the head of deliverability at Force24. Morning, Darren. And today we're answering quite an important series of questions, really. And it's an exciting one for me, this, because this has been a technical challenge and an attitudinal challenge that we've been facing for a number of years, but that battle has really amped up over the last probably 4 or 5 years, more than any period of time. And I think that sort of sits in line with the the growth of AI. We're going to talk about that during the talk today. But I'm going to just bring up on screen now the title of the slide so we can get going. So this is going to be a bit of a panel talk today, rather than a sort of run through PowerPoint slides. We want to try and answer as many difficult questions as we can as we go. So if there is anybody at any point that's got a question and they want to pose it to either myself or Darren, we'll be more than happy to throw it into the Q&A. Let me have a look. Where do we do it, Sam? Do we do it through chat or is there a Q&A? Which one do you want to use as the facilitator of everything? Sam, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, mate. You can use either chat or the Q&A, but probably the chat's more interactive.
Okay, so let's use the chat. So it would be lovely if we could get a quick hello from as many people as possible and just throw hello in there. I always like to make sure that people are actually there, and this isn't. There you go, Louise. Thank you, Louise. Thanks, Jess. Oh, I can't pronounce that one. Sorry. Hello. Great. Thank you, everybody, for saying hello. It makes me feel a lot more connected. Right, I'm going to share my screen. Now, I don't usually put this in presenter mode. I know that's not the way it's been designed. I like to try and keep it as a guide rather than it be the thing. So the title of the talk today is How to Improve Email Deliverability and Ensure Inbox Placement. Now, I assume the majority of you out there on the call today have at some point experienced an issue with email deliverability or have potentially been questioning, are you getting the most out of it? And the resounding answer into almost every single scenario that we've looked at is you can get more. And there's some parallels that we're going to draw in a moment that's going to hopefully unlock a few thoughts in your mind and help you start think about things in a little bit more depth. But before we get going, let's just have a quick introduction. So who am I? I'm Adam Orfield. I'm the CEO of Force24. I founded Force24 in 2010. I've been working in marketing for over 20 years now. And I've worked with some of the biggest and the best brands in the UK, along with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of smaller SME brands. And it's all about bringing what we've seen on our travels to you guys. Force24, last year, we received a fairly significant round of investment from a private equity partner. And one of the things that we wanted to do was expand our product offering to you guys. And as part of that, Darren Lindsay, head of email deliverability, was one of our acquisitions. So Darren, do you want to give us a quick introduction as to who you are and why you're on the call with me?
Okay, thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. My name's Darren. I'm head of deliverability here at Force24. So my experience is around 5 years in the email deliverability space. I started my deliverability journey at Return Path. For those who don't know, they're quite big in the email space. Then moved on to Adobe and helped those guys there, and worked with a number of different clients and different businesses just to help them on their email journey and just and improve their email deliverability. Brilliant.
I mean, the thing for me, Darren, really is that you're an industry veteran, really, in terms of, I know 5 years, it doesn't sound like a very long time, but actually the most exciting pace has occurred. And one of the things that we've noticed is that people do still think about deliverability or the deliverability argument in a very similar way to they were thinking about it a few years ago, sort of 10 years ago. And it really isn't. And that's what we want to bring to the table today. So first of all, a little bit about Force24. Keep this lightweight. We don't want to use this isn't necessarily a selling platform. This is for us to try and impart knowledge. So we were founded in 2010. We're the fastest growing UK-based marketing automation platform at the moment. One of the things that makes us totally different to the rest of the marketplace is the fact that we offer free training and support, unlimited free training support, and that is dispensed on a 2-minute SLA. So we're all about making sure that you guys understand the challenges that you're being faced with, and you've got the best support and help along that journey to get you to where you want to be. So we know that the marketplace is a lot of sort of isolated marketeers out there that don't feel as connected as they should be to the technology that they've purchased, and we're all about trying to fix that problem. Also, we offer a badass platform with one of probably the most impressive feature sets within the marketplace. We've got a 98.2 client retention rate, and as you can see there, we got just short of 5 million quid not so long ago. So I'm going to take this one for a moment, Darren, and then we're going to dip into some of your insight as we go. So, okay, first thing that we want to do is understand the deliverability landscape. And this is more of a sort of an eye-opening position than it is anything else. And quite often I hear the question, yeah, but isn't email a bit of an old, outdated channel? No, it isn't. Let's just clear that up. So the first thing is email still, yes, it is one of the original, still is the dominant communications channel for direct messaging. So in terms of email, take B2b, for example, who's not got Outlook? Who's not got Outlook on their computer? Open pretty much all day, every day. Might be Outlook, might be whatever the Apple version of it is, whatever. But the point is you will have an email client on your desk pretty much all of the day. Email is not going anywhere. The channel has evolved, and that is what I'm most pleased about. The fact that it couldn't have stayed where it was, it's evolved and it's being optimized. Is it going anywhere? Maybe in the next 10, 20 years, but what that's going to need is that's going to need a channel to embrace what email is. So email is deliberately restricted. Why is it deliberately restricted? Well, because the marketeer is interrupting your day, the recipient's day. So I can't be sending JavaScript and complicated technologies down the line to you. I have to basically send out a very simple flyer. And I've got a very limited medium in which to do it. But that medium's 10 times, 100,000 times more powerful than Twitter, than LinkedIn in terms of the capabilities of what we can display. But understanding the fact that email is one of the dominant forces in direct marketing today and will remain one of the dominant forces, as far as we can see, is critical. And understanding what you've got to do to adapt and live in today's times is critical. So I want to draw a quick parallel. And that parallel is with SEO. And so years ago, like when I started in the internet back in 1998, the thing for me, SEO was about putting words in meta tags. That was it. If you put Rolex in there enough times, you'd be #1 for Rolex within a couple of days. That's changed, isn't it? We can't rely on that now. And I'd love to run a poll right now, but there's no real value in doing so. But I would like to say, how many of you out there either have worked with an SEO agency or are working with an SEO agency? And I suspect a large percentage of you are either currently working with, sorry, just a second, you out there, either are currently working with an SEO agency or have worked with an SEO agency or plan to work with an SEO agency. I'll ask that same question again. Who out there is working with a dedicated email deliverability specialist? So who is allocating the same amount of budget, same amount of resource, time, effort into email deliverability? And I would suspect that it's very little. Now, when you think about the back end, the engines that are powering SEO, it's really complicated now. And it's based on this credibility factor, isn't it? Let me tell you something. Email has gone exactly the same way. So email is no longer delivering a letter into the post box. Postman moves it and puts it through the door. It hasn't been like that for years. Instead, what's happening now is complicated AI algorithms are understanding whether that should be delivered. And that problem then is you can deliver into a spam folder. Of course, you can get into a spam folder. Anybody can get into there, but we know there's no value in being in that spam folder. So we've got to think like SEO because it has adapted and it is very much the same. So Darren, is there anything you want to say on that? Well, I know I'm monologuing for a moment here, but I'm inviting you to add any contributions as to how that works.
No, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. You know, just having it's about that good, having the best start possible, and it's just having working with the right people to have all of that in place, which is what we do. So no, you've got it.
Excellent, good plug there. Well done. Anyway, so the next thing, the parallel that I want to continue to draw with SEO is the fact that we know, because every SEO consultant on the planet has told us, it takes time. It takes time to get to the #1, top 10, wherever it is. And actually, my understanding of of what I expect SEO to achieve me is I'm not shooting for #1 anymore. I'm happy with the first page somewhere. That's good enough for me. So firstly, I know that SEO is going to take me time to get there. Email, it's going to take me time. And you know what? You've got to keep on working on it. I'm not saying, by the way, that you guys all need to go out there and get yourself an email deliverability consultant right now and you need to start working on this for the next 10 years. I'm saying that I'm trying to draw a parallel so we can open the door to some new thinking. But it takes time. You don't just get good at delivering emails into the inbox. So should we have a look at some of what's happening and what's influencing that? And I firstly want to just talk about AI. So AI obviously is probably, in fact, I'll skip that. I'll go to this slide. I'll talk about AI as part of this. The majority of the world's email landscape is owned by Microsoft and Google, right? We know that. The majority of businesses, even if you've got a domain like force24.co.uk, it's actually routing through Microsoft because we use Office 365. Same for anybody using Google. They may not, overtly demonstrate that they're using Google, but they may well be probably using Google. So the majority of the world's landscape, when you press send, is going into probably one of those two mail servers. So when I'm sat in my marketing ivory tower and I hit send, I think I'm going like this. I'm sending millions of emails out or thousands of emails out to lots of different places. I'm not. I'm sending it out to probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 places, of which the largest proportion is going into Microsoft and Google. And so obviously what they're then doing is they're employing sophisticated AI to have a look at those messages and understand me and understand the deliverability argument and whether they should let me through. So I want you to think differently about deliverability. It's not just trying to get into ABC companies' inbox. It's about trying to crack Microsoft, trying to crack Google. And if what you're doing there is working, it works 9 times out of 10, most of the other places. So, Darren, do you want to tell us about the kind of things? You want to talk about reputation for me for a moment? What is a reputation score?
so as part of email deliverability, everything relies on what we call reputation. So your reputation, there are a number of different metrics that make up your actual reputation. So that's your engagement, so that's your opens and clicks. You know, it's also based on the subscriber behavior. So how the subscriber behaves and reacts to your email in their inbox. So to give you an example of inbox behavior, you know, if your message is being forwarded as well, you know, that again is seen as positive reputation behavior. So all of these different things make up whether or not your Microsofts, your Googles actually view you as a good sender. Another important part of it is what we call a health score. So think of it this way. So you've got your health score is basically your credit score, and it runs from 1 to 100. And basically, the higher you are, the closer you are to 100, the better you are seen. So again, there are so many different variables here to what's involved in making up your reputation. So there are a lot of things to think about when moving forward, or even before you even hit the send button.
That's really important, that, Darren, and to talk about this. So a lot of people focus on, you know, something like a bounce rate and say, you know, as long as the bounce rate's less than 2% and my unsubscribe rate's less than X%, nothing else matters. But what we're saying, Darren, as you quite rightly said, is no, you've got a health score. We're going to talk about what that health score does in just a moment. You got a reputation score and a health score. But we're going to look at these factors and we've got to look to build them. And it's so much more than what they do. And you made a point just then, which I thought was quite interesting, about forwards. So a lot of people think that when that email lands in the inbox, the deliverability argument is done. It's finished. But just like Google, it will send somebody up to the top. But if nobody clicks it, they'll send it back down and replace somebody with a higher quality score. And that's how it works. So if nobody's engaging with my content, even if I've got a great deliverability profile, that's no good. So this is putting it back on the marketeer to be engaging. It's about being relevant and engaging. Right message, right person, right time. That's the mantra, and I keep talking about that. So it's all about how your message was received. I just want to quickly, Darren, we've got a technical slide here. It's a bit geeky, but I think it's worth you just giving the quick run through as to physically what happens when we send an email. Do you want to just give us that?
Yeah, sure. So no, yes, this is the geeky, techie, quote unquote boring bit, but it's just, I just think it's just something to think about. And again, what we took, you know, as we mentioned about your reputation, how you're viewed, and things to think about before you hit the send button. So what we've got here is what we call the journey of an email. So step one. So what you have right here in the first instance is what you would call your email client. So that would be your, you know, the place with the place of the ESP where you send out your emails. Now, sorry?
Force 24, for example.
Exactly, Force 24. So before you even push send to push out your email from Force 24, what you have to do is you'll compose the message. And once you've composed the message and hit send, Force 24 will, you know, will connect to that email client, whether it's, you know, Outlook or Gmail or anything else, and that will connect to your domain server. Now, once your email client has communicated with the server, given it the email address, it will look at your email address, the recipient email address, and the body of the message. And all of this will happen in microseconds. Once the server's sort of processed your message, it will push out and search, you know, push out and look at your customer, you know, look at the customer subscriber's email client, and then match it to that. And then once that's matched, and once that's agreed, and once it's seen that yes, this is where it's got to go, it will then push it out to the subscriber's the recipient, the subscriber or recipient's email client. Once it's there, the recipient server, so again, that would be your subscribers Gmail or Microsoft email client, it will then scan it and make sure that it's safe, which is what happens on the page here where it says the anti-spam filters. So all of those runs and all of those checks will happen there. Then once it's made the decision that it's passed all of those filterings, it would then make another decision to push it to either the customer's inbox if wanted, or the customer's spam folder if it's not. But it doesn't end there. So then once you're in the inbox, we then look further again at the engagement, at the customer behavior. So the point where it says the complaints and unsubscribes, if the customer complains and hits the spam button, which is seen as a complaint, or if the customer unsubscribes from your email program, it will then push it back down the line, so back into the customer's email client, and then push it back to us to Force 24 to processing. So ultimately, it all comes down to this: is what you need to think about is you need to think about having those good subscribers in the first instance to make sure that they want your email, that they want your business, that they want the content that you're sending, and that they're interested in it, so you can continuously keep hitting the inbox. And that's basically it.
I think you've nailed that there. I mean, that's the mantra. The difficulty. I'm a marketeer. You're a deliverability consultant. And if we're having this same view, I'm a marketeer and you're an SEO consultant, you'd be saying the same thing. And it's like, get people that want to buy your stuff and send them stuff they want to buy. And I'm saying, yeah, but that's really difficult for me. I mean, I'm a marketeer. I don't know what they want to buy. I just know that they're a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. And I think I know what they want them to buy. And so our job is to try and help you understand what the mechanics are. And I think whilst we're at this stage, we're saying, look, we've been accepting not good for a long time. We now need to start moving up that chain. It doesn't mean you're going to be the shining knights of deliverability next week. It means that we're making steps in the right direction towards getting to that deliverability goal. And the point of showing you this document is just understanding. And firstly, Darren mentioned an interesting point, and that's the anti-spam filtering occurs here, and it then makes a further decision here. There's a further decision here, not here, it's dead there. There's a further decision then in the inbox. So it goes from a Microsoft's view of the world and how people have engaged with you in the past into then a user's view of the world. How have you engaged with this in the past? So quite often what you see is that, when you get, you've got an email, it's gone into your inbox, but your colleagues, it's gone into spam. So how does that happen? That's this user-based processing where the device is actually considering, or Microsoft is considering on your specific behalf. And that obviously is the direction of travel. But think about that processing power. And one of the slides that I sort of bounced past before is AI working for us or against us? Well, in the context of the user, it's working for us. In the context of the marketeer, it might be working against us. And what we have to do is align with what it's expecting from us and make sure we're doing more of that. And we're going to get into this in just a moment. Guys, can I ask in the chat, would anybody mind saying just if they've got what they believe to be a perceived issue with deliverability? Can I have a yes or a no, or a Y or an N? I don't mind which one, just into that chat. Do you think, because we're going to go into some things that might help you understand if you've got deliverability issues, but do you think right now that you might or you could be doing better? Yep, yes. Anybody else? Yes. That's why you're on a webinar about it, I guess. Yeah. Okay, I want to see, has anybody not got a problem with it? No? Everybody's, okay, fine. Let's leave it. Let's leave it with that. Lol. I don't know why lol, but lol, yeah, I get it. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go on to the next slide, okay? The other thing is, so we're saying that reputation's important. We've talked about that. And we're saying we're going to go down, we've said roughly what's in reputation. We're going to go into more detail in a moment. But one of the other things is that I don't get good and then stay good. I get good and then the decay occurs quickly. So what happens is, let's assume that I have been doing an amazing job. And then I go on holiday for 2 weeks. I come back after 2 weeks to bad. Well, not bad, average. All of that good stuff that I did is now not there. So one of the challenges that you guys have got is this ability to continue to deliver messages. And this is obviously where automation comes in. And this is obviously why Force 24 is here presenting this. It's all about disconnect the marketeer from the wheels, build campaign schedules and user event triggers so that I am constantly, whilst managing in a maintained, controlled way, distributing into those very intelligent AI engines. But the worst thing that you can do is sit back for 7 days before you send the next campaign. You have to constantly work at this. And going up goes like that. Going down goes boom, like that. And so when you do something bad, it's really frustrating. It goes all that hard work, boom, and I've got to go back up there. Your question, Oliver. So many companies send out newsletters. I know that often dismiss newsletters when they hit my inbox. Could a regular newsletter hamper your reputation score? Here's a point, right? Okay, so newsletters. Oliver, you've got a really good point here. So whether you like newsletters or whether you don't like newsletters, it doesn't matter. It's whether it's what the recipient wants to see from you. Now, you might have a stakeholder telling you that you need to get the news out into the world or you need to communicate with the base. Question that I usually have is, does that news all happen instantly on the first of the month, or does it happen staggered through the month? Is that news, all the 5 articles that you've written, all relevant for everybody, or is it only relevant for small portions of the base? So with Twitter, with Facebook, with LinkedIn, we post as it breaks. You know, it's all about really, really timely communications. You wouldn't put a newsletter on Twitter. So why would we do it on email? So the question there, Oliver, is, you know, firstly, take that frequency. Are you, if you're going 1 email a month, bang, bang, what Darren and I are saying is that your reputation might go up from that newsletter and then go all the way back down. Send it again, boom, like this. So that's really counterproductive. Now, take that same newsletter analogy, assuming that you've broken it down and said, okay, this article is going to be great for this base. Send it as it breaks. Don't collate it. Send it as it breaks. You're going to love this, guys, because you're a marketer that knows what is his or her audience likes. Empathy. One of the biggest things, I always talk about empathy on my webinars, about how I've got to empathize with the audience or the segments and give them what they want. So the big thing is, Oliver, I personally wouldn't execute newsletters through our marketing channel. I execute news bulletins, or we would execute thought leadership pieces, but it's on an agenda it's on a frequency that fits our deliverability timeline, not it's the end of the month, let's get the newsletter out, bang. Some businesses are news agencies and they have a much wider selection of articles, but they are still communicating more regularly and they recognize that 7-day window is important. So why is spam filtering so strict? Well, email's free. Right? Email essentially is free. So if I'm Microsoft or Google and I've got this free obligation to you to manage and process all of this email for you, and marketers out there recognize it doesn't cost me any more money if I send it to 10,000 people or if I send it to 5,000 people or 2,000 people. It's the same price. Surely I should send it to everybody. No. And that's their point. They're saying, no, you're going to make it hard for us and you're going to fill up the inbox. Imagine if everybody did this, right? Nobody segmented. So I was getting ladies' feminine hygiene products in my inbox alongside my important aftershave emails or whatever it might be. I don't know. But the point that I want to make is, imagine if nobody did this right. Where would we be with email? The channel would be dead. Move it on. Because it had been over penetrated. The inbox was basically a useless place. So they've gone strict. And they've said, okay, marketeers, if you're not going to play the game, we're going to make sure you have to play the game. And we're going to make sure that we deliver into each user things that are going to be relevant for each user. So, okay, Darren, on this point, would you mind sharing with us? So, Oliver out there, talking about the companies and the newsletters. One of the things that we find with newsletters is they often get low engagement rates, low open rates, low click rates, etc., etc. And one of the problems that we've got if we've got email bad deliverability is sometimes it's hard to tell because that's just what you've always had. So is there anything that you can say here? In fact, actually, we're coming on to it. Sorry, Darren, we're going on to the apologize. Okay, so low engagement rates and low open rates, but there's another way. So first of all, what do I mean by a low open rate and a low engagement rate? Darren's got some really great advice in a moment for you on this one. I'm gonna keep that to him. So we'll compare what your open rates look like with what the industry can see. Low engagement rates and bot traffic. Now, bot traffic. Who out there has seen bot traffic? Do we know what this is? So we send out an email and we see an email. It's been every one of the buttons on the email has been clicked. Every one of them. It's been opened 5 times and every button on the email has been clicked, all within a fraction of a second. Now, the industry is well aware that bot traffic exists. It's very, very difficult to suppress it, and should you suppress it? And my view is no, because bot traffic is as a result of poor deliverability reputation. So you think about it, you're Microsoft, okay? And you've got Darren, he's an amazing sender. He's done everything right for years. He's got reputation score up here. Everybody that receives his emails, he's jumping and clapping as soon as they receive his emails. He sends an email. They've got the choice. Do I send out the bots? You know, it's extra horsepower, it costs more money. Do I send out the bots? Nah, we let Darren straight through. Now, Sam, on the other hand, sends an email and he's not so good. And he's got a low reputation score. People don't understand him. We don't get him. Email comes into the network, low reputation score. Do I send out a bot and check him out? Yes, I do. Send out a bot. I get every email link checked and I check there's no malice in anything that you're doing. And then I let it through. So bots aren't necessarily a bad thing. They're just checking you out. That's essentially what they're doing. But they're excessive bot traffic. So if you're seeing that this is a problem, you're seeing that it's warping your statistics, it's probably as a result of a poor reputation issue. Now, bots are, you know, you're going to get them. It's happening. So, you know, but it's the level. If it's something you're observing and regularly seeing, Mailchimp suggested a while ago that 30% of their reported clicks were bots. So that could be masking your open and click rates. You think you're doing well, but 30% of what you're getting is actually a bot. Darren, is there anything you want to add on in terms of the bots or the low engagement at this stage? Mute.
No, I mean you've pretty much nailed it in terms of bot traffic. I mean, the only thing I would add, and just to add to your point, is that, you know, within the industry we kind of see this as a twofold problem. So, you know, one, there are accounts in your database that are not willingly subscribed. So again, that kind of creates a compliance issue. And then 2, it puts you at further risk. The bots put you at further risk of being blacklisted, which means that the delivery of your emails to legitimate subscribers that are interested and do want your mail, you know, gets blocked. So yeah, it's a problem. It's there, but there are, you know, just ways to try and mitigate and try and get around it, really.
Okay. So what if I've had a problem and how do I tell? So this is something that we've advised a few of our customers on over the years, and that is what we've run is an experiment with our clients. And we've said, okay, take every identifiable Microsoft address that you've got in your data set, anything that says MSN, MSN Online, Outlook, whatever, take every one of those that you can identify. It's only going to be a sample, but get what you can. Do the same with Google, Gmail, Google Mail, whatever it is, all of the same ones. Overtly evident that it's Google, overtly evident it's Microsoft. Send a campaign specifically to the Google guys. Send the same campaign specifically to the Microsoft guys. And what happens is quite alarming. Most businesses, if you're getting a sort of 4 or 5% open rate on your campaigns, you're in problem with both. If you're getting a 12 or 15% open rate on your campaigns, you've probably got a problem with one of them. And if you've got a 20, 25, 30% open rate with your campaigns, you're probably treading a pretty good line on where you want to go. But what we found is you send that email to the Microsoft overt ones or the Google overt ones, you'll find you'll get an open rate, which is like 0.1%. or 2% at best. And then whereas the Google guys, they've gone at 8% or 12%. And, you know, so Google isn't really loving you either, but it's loving you a little bit more, but blended together, that looks like a 4% or something along those lines. And so that was a really interesting experiment that we did with a couple of our clients to say, look, let's see which one we've got a problem with. Obviously, we've got tools behind the scenes that help us understand that position. And Darren, is it anything you want to say about what we can see behind the curtain that helps us understand how people are performing? So we can look at these things for you. Oh, you're on mute, Darren. Still on mute. There we go.
Yeah, I'm on. There we go. So yeah, so there are a number of different ways to kind of look at your sort of your deliverability and try and get that insight into sort of, as Adam says, behind the curtain. What we at Force 24, this is why I'm here, and this is what what we're here to do. So we work with sort of customers, customers that will speak to us and think, well, I'm not having the results that I should be, and so we can help you with that. We can give you insight, and then we can sort of be able to help you improve and get those open rates and return on investment that you need.
So what we can essentially do is look at the part that could be causing the problem. Is it engagement? Is it data quality? It's always a blend of everything, really, but helping you focus on each particular bit. So it's kind of difficult to know, but let me show you something. Darren, do you want to take me through this slide? I think this is really interesting, by the way, guys. Oh no, you're mute again.
So what we have here is we have some really good information from the DMA. So that's the Data and Marketing Association, and they produce an email benchmark report every year, which takes a look at deliverability as a whole, and provides the results on what the trends are year upon year. So what we've got here is we've got a look at the delivery rates and the open rates, B2b sending, B2c sending from 2016 to 2020. So what we see is after increases over the last 2 years, email metrics have seen a slight decrease in 2020. Overall, the average delivery rate has kind of dropped a little, but not by much, and the click and the click to open rates as well. But the overall volumes with emails being sent has been consistent to previous years as well. What we also see is sort of during the pandemic, many brands obviously relied on the email channel to try and keep the customers informed. What was very, very interesting was the differences between B2B and B2C as well. So from a B2B sending context, we've seen the best figure, which was in delivery rates in terms of 99% delivery rates that we've seen in the last 5 years. Data shows that there was an increase also from a B2B sending perspective as well, and also a better click performance and a better click to open performance as well. Obviously, obviously with the pandemic and what's happened, what's gone on, we've seen that B2B has risen and B2C has dropped just ever so slightly. But there could be a number of different reasons for this, whether that would be the spam or the AI, it hasn't been as effective. But personally, I think that it probably comes down to data and the number of customers, the number of engaged subscribers that people have within their database, that want their emails, that want their content, and that are interested. So that's what the overall trends that we've been seeing.
Okay, I think just from my point of view, I'm looking at those charts, and the interesting thing to me is that when we're looking at these charts here, this particular one here, what we're seeing is data quality is going up. In my opinion, that's telling me data quality is going up, and that's saying that when you look at the candlestick on the top, it's saying that the top of the envelope was at 100%. So the line of best fit is still going up from a B2B deliverability point of view, and that's, I think, most brands in a B2B point are getting good at it. They've stopped doing the batch and blast, and they're starting to get good at email. And they're saying that a 0.8% on average failure rate is what we're seeing. So that's your bounce rate, 0.8%, compared to 4% back in 2016. So that is good hygiene practices, I would say, as a result of marketeers taking the role, of managing data effectively. B2C, on the other hand, look at the candlestick, it's still the biggest, but actually the average has reduced. And there's probably lots of different reasons as to why that delivery rate. I mean, delivery rate tends to include things like, it's bounces, it's bounces really, isn't it? And the point is, if we've got that, that says that the B2C sector is probably falling behind, because I don't see that's industry. I see that's attitudinal to the marketeer. And then here in the opens and clicks, what I can see here is, look at this. This is staggering. I don't think I think this is practice. This is B2B marketeers, trying to do what they used to do all those years ago, while technology was accelerating. Trying to do what they were doing, it just doesn't work anymore. Adapting, technology accelerating again. So this is, I think, not necessarily are people not looking at email or not clicking email. No, I think this is technology getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And if I was to map onto this same chart what the technology was doing during this period, it would probably say it gets more aggressive here and continues to be more aggressive as volumes increase and potentially this dip occurs. And the same with B2C, it's largely line of best fit. B2C brands, ever since the talk of GDPR, really have got pretty good at managing data. B2B is still a little bit relaxed, in my opinion. And this is something that I think the GDPR was actually really positive in enforcing. So here we saw businesses trying to pivot, trying to shift, trying to get rid of data, trying to fix data, trying to do all sorts of other things. And that's seen this general increase here. But then over here, I think, like I say, the reality of it is it the fact that people aren't opening their emails anymore? Maybe in the consumer market, there is a little bit more demand on TikTok and Facebook and other, so my time is perhaps spent a little less on the email client, and that might be true. But at the same time, in the B2B, I think it's a positive trend, but it's just down to that marketing attitudinal shift that's needed on that one. But the point that I really want to make is, it got to 21 and it's sat at 20% right now in B2B, 20%, open rates at 20%. That's what the DMA are saying is a blended average. That means you've got people in there that are much higher, sort of 30%. And bearing in mind, here's what happens. So in our marketing department, we've got some campaigns that are tracking at 60%. We've got some campaigns that are tracking at 12%. It's less than that, we're worried and we start to think about it and we pull it and we said we don't like the way that's going. But when I blend it all together, the organization is tracking at about 20%, 25%, something like that. So you've got to not just look at individual campaigns and say, is it falling in line with my benchmark? It's as a whole in any given period of time, am I tracking on that line? So you need some up there at 50. And the thing is, again, this is why automation is so cool. If I send you an email, you engage with it, you love it, you dance all over it, and you have a good look around my website, and I send you an email the following day, the chances are you're going to get pretty high engagement on that email as well, unless you bought from us. Well, then you probably still get high engagement. But the point there is the fact that if I've got that activity, then my open rates on those campaigns might be 60, 70% on those retargeting pieces. But my new data, never been spoken to again before, cold data, and we're going to talk about how to purchase data and cold data in just a moment. So I can't expect to be getting anywhere near that average. So I've got to blend my overall profile and make sure it's tracking around that 20, 25%, and then I'm in good shape. So can I ask anybody if they wouldn't mind giving me, and obviously the same, below, sorry, Darren, this is obviously then the click rates in B2B and B2C. And you can see, look at that, click rates are going up in B2B, down in B2C, click to open rate. Is that the same statistic, just measured slightly differently? That's measured as the whole proportion of the base. Yeah, okay, it's fine. So it's really this one that we want to look at. This is the bit that's alarming. And I think that this is the bit that says marketers need to get better at what they're doing. To compete, is it audience attention, which could be an attitudinal shift towards different channels, maybe, or is it technology becoming more aggressive? And I can categorically say technology is becoming more aggressive. So that's probably the reason why B2C is slightly falling behind. And one of the things that we find is B2C brands tend to have much larger data volumes, you know, so as a relation to their turnover of the business. So, you know, I sell a widget for £50. Let's say I do £1 million turnover. I've got a lot of customers, right? Let's say I sell a photocopier for £5,000 and I do the same £1 million turnover. I've got much less customers. So as a result, normally we see these B2C clients having much higher data sets than the B2B, and they tend to be more susceptible once you get into these big volumes to the more scrutineering from the spam filtering. Anything you want to add on there on those slides before we move into the next stage? Yeah, guys, is anybody just, if you wouldn't mind, just contributing back into the chat again? Does anybody feel like, oh my God, I need to do something? Or is anybody feeling, are you hitting those metrics or are you not hitting those metrics? Where do you sit? Yes or no? Yes for hitting them, no for not hitting them. How do you feel? Y or N? Yes or no? Or lol, if you want. Go for it. Anybody hitting them or not hitting them? I might just type something in. I'm going to say yes. Sometimes. That's a good point. Well, getting there sometimes is, you know, it's that overall percentage that we're trying to achieve. Okay. Right. Now, let's skip on to some of the more boring features. Now, this is something I don't want to labor this part. This is your deliverability argument is measured on lots of different things, as Darren said. However, there are some explicit factors that you have to get right. And, you know, understanding that we have the mail server and the mail server health, that's our job. Darren's job, amongst many other things, is ensuring that our environment is in optimum health and employing the industry best practice techniques to ensure that we deliver the best environment to get your email into the inbox. We're a small business in comparison to Mailchimp. We're actually quite a sizable organization now, but we're small business in comparison to Mailchimp. So we can do that at a much more granular scale, which means that we can look at case by case rather than an algorithm deciding put you on the bad one, put you on the good one. We can do things that help out. But I don't want to labor this point. I do want to labor this point though. And this is digital email signing. So everybody out there is probably aware that email, you need either a DKIM or an DKIM and an SPF. You might not know what they do, but you might have heard of them in the past. Now, one of the things that I would encourage you to think about is, when was the last time you checked it? So I asked Sam in our marketing department, when was the last time you checked our DKIM and your SPF? What was your answer, Sam?
Never.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. So the point is proven with our own marketing department. But one of the things that we do, you know, a lot of marketers believe it's the IT team's responsibility, and it is. But let me tell you, the amount of times that we see that an IT professional has, oh, we don't need that anymore, or changed the DKIM record on your DNS, or done something, and it's no longer resolving. Now, the first thing I'd say about that is our platform specifically has been designed to say, whoa, stop. You've got a DKIM record missing, or you've got an SPF record missing, or something that's not going to work here. Stop, fix it quick, because it's going to just fall straight into spam. It's just not going to work. But do you want to, Darren, is there anything you want to say about DKIMs or SPF records on that point? I know it's kind of functional stuff, but anything you want to say?
No, not really. I mean, it's as you say, this is what's on what we call behind the curtain, just to make sure that these things are set up correctly, and make sure that, you know, they're in place so your emails can get sent. And really, yeah, as you say, you know, as it says there, you know, that it's on the IT teams, and they've got to make sure that this is in place.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. It is, but it's as a marketeer, your responsibility is to get emails in the inbox, and that's the principle, and that's the key really, and that's the, I want to make sure we're taking it as our responsibility as marketeers, right? It's our job. Is it on there? How do I check? Well, that's quite a difficult one. But you ask your ESP, you speak to somebody like us, and we say, oh, okay, there's the problem. It's not on there. But like I say, our system was specifically designed. No, we don't send it because it's pointless. So it'll alert you. Okay, so let's look at the bits that you can do. Let's look at the bits that, oops, sorry, scooping around. Data health. Now, everybody talks about data health. one of the things that I was really keen for this webinar to talk about is the real world situation. It's the fact that, you know, everybody talks about data health, and down in your world, I'm sending emails to people that want to buy my product. That's what you want to achieve. But in the real world, I'm sending emails to people that maybe bought a while ago. Maybe I bought some data a while ago. You know, I've got a blend of lots of people that I don't know whether they're going to buy from us or not. You know, so it's all about what is it that we do to try and make sure that we've got the best out of this audience. What is it you do? How do you do that?
So ultimately what you need to have is what we call clean data. So if you are getting your data sourced, then make sure that it's sourced from a reputable data provider. But then I would also say do another check, and just to make sure that data is clean as well. And that's also, again, that's something that, you know, we can provide, that we can help with, that we can provide a service we can help you out with. Also, I would say make sure that you are, you know, sort of regularly act upon your bounces. So look at the bounce information. So, you know, you look at your hard bounces. Are you getting a lot of hard bounces coming back, addresses that don't exist? Remove those as well. And then also your spam trap monitoring, because again, hitting a lot of spam traps will indicate that there is a list hygiene or a data health problem as well. There are a number of different types of spam traps that exist. But again, you know, we can work with you on that and help you sort of look into that and resolve those issues.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Darren. So data health. Okay. I'm going to talk about a different aspect of data health. Darren's talking about that from a technical point of view. I'm going to talk about it from your point of view, and that is the fact that knowing my data. So Louise Bird, you put on a message a while ago. Sorry, I didn't see it at the time, but don't people get bombarded with what you said? I think it was when we were talking about mailing frequencies and the fact that we've got to talk more frequently to people. Yeah, so Louise, here's the point. No, they don't get bombarded. What I want you to do is not look at this in terms of the single person. I want you to look at it as a group and what the mail server's outputting. I am not advocating over penetrating a base, but I am advocating saying, take that base, break it apart into engagement. And Microsoft's view is you should send an email 3 times a week to somebody. If they haven't opened in 2 weeks, delete them from your database. Not suggesting that. What I'm saying is that if somebody is in a state of engagement, it's perfectly feasible to up the frequency or the cadence of those emails for a short period of time, because I'm showing high signs of engagement. Now, you've equally got people in my base that have never opened an email from me. And we talk about that data and we say, look, if you've opened an email in the last 30 days, Darren, I'm stealing your thunder a little bit here because this is one of the things you're going to talk about. But that if you've never opened an email in the last 180 days, they have not contributed to you in any way. All they've done is served to detract and make things worse from your deliverability point of view. So I don't want to look at this, start sending more emails rapidly to everybody. No, look at the audience, identify those that are engaging, segment them differently. And our webinars talk all about how to do this in different ways, and our website's full of hints, tips, and guides as to how you can achieve that. But the point is, I want to talk more to those people that are engaging and less those people that are not. Ultimately, my email volume goes down, but my cadence increases. Now, that's again what automation is all about. It's about doing it properly. So Darren, in your world, from a deliverability point of view, give me that quick one hit. How is it how do you classify engaged data, passive data, and dead data?
Sure. So 0 to 30 days, that's seen as you're engaged. 30 to 60 days, and then 60 to 90 days, that's where you're seen as passive. 90 to 180, those are what's seen as inactive.
Yeah, and that's I want to just jump to this slide very quickly and just say, look, that all of a sudden my deliverability profile looks like this. So what bad looks like, when we were talking about that newsletter, we probably should have brought that up here. So what bad looks like is this. And we're saying, as Darren's saying, okay, right, well, I've got those that are super engaged. That's these guys. And we're upping the cadence of those. And that's no one person that's getting all of those. That's just the frequency in which they're going out of the mail server. And that's regular, perhaps daily communications. So I, as a user, might get one every 3 days. But the mail server is running that quite intensively, and that's what we're getting all of our value out of. So that is not what we want. That is what we want. So we've then got our passive and our semi-engaged people getting these. So if you look, the size of this is the whole base. Add these up, and it's much smaller. So we're sending less email. That's the point. That's the magic that we want to bring to this. We send less email to better people. Now you look at that and you think, well, how can I achieve that? How on earth could I possibly achieve that? Again, this is about automation. This is about, if we can disconnect the marketeer from the wheels, and we can say, look, marketeer, if you're ever doing anything like scheduling a campaign and off it goes, you're doing, what you're doing is fundamentally the hard way. Everything should be mapped into the automation engine, and it should be rolling out over the next 6, 12, 8 months, weeks. Obviously, content changes, and we then update the words. We maybe don't know what we're going to be talking about in 6 months' time, but we know we're going to be sending these people something on that schedule, so we can worry about that then. So marketeers need to start to move into this direction and move away from this. So I'm going to skip back to this, and yes, the slides are going to be available. And I think what I'm going to do in the interest of time is pull back on some of the data cleanse policies. I know good list hygiene is critical, but actually what I want to talk about now is about knowing your data. So interesting point from the DMA, the average cost per acquisition of an email address is 30 quid per address. Okay, so if I'm getting somebody to submit an email from my website, costs 30 quid. So each one of you guys have cost us 30 quid to get onto this webinar, in theory, when we take the whole broad marketing mix into view. So I need to treat you guys like gold, and I need to make sure that when you stop showing signs of engagement, I pull you back and I put you into one of those less frequent engagement cycles like I had here, the unengaged segment, the re-engagement strategies, which are going out monthly or less frequently. So I'm now going to, knowing your data, now knowing that quality is important. So I now want to talk very quickly about segmentation, and this is why segmentation is important. So as Darren mentioned right at the beginning of the webinar, it's all about saying what happens in the inbox. That's really important. So do they open, do they click, whatever. Now, if I look at segmentation today, most of you are probably segmenting your audience in butcher, baker, candlestick maker, and I love that. That's great. That's what we want to see. However, new segmentation looks like this, and I call it 3D segmentation or 3D marketing. And 3D segmentation says, yeah, but I've got butchers. Of course I've got butchers. But I've got butchers that have never even opened an email from me. I've got butchers that open every email from me. I've got butchers that have requested a price guide. I've got butchers that have done this, butchers that have done that. And so these are my new segments. So I've got the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. So all of my magic happens at these back 3 tiers across the board. That's where all of my reputation is built. I then ride on that reputation to try and get these guys on a less frequent cadence into the inbox. So I can use my reputation as a lever to try and pull more in, but I have to do it smart. And that is why, going back to this here, if I was sending to these re-engagement, these people that have never spoken to us before at the same frequency as any of these here, I'd be in real danger. But I suspect the majority of us out there right now are doing probably a more sophisticated version of this, where we are talking to butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. But we are not taking into account what re-engagement strategies are like, how often I should email you from a re-engagement point of view. And it's really interesting to start to think about it like that. And that actually, Louise, one of your points, don't people get bombarded? And this is the point about cadence versus spamming. So the term spamming is actually not a term that you as a marketeer can use. It's relative to the recipient. So Darren and Sam both bought some trainers from my sports shop. Darren is an avid tennis player and I'm a tennis shop. Sam bought some trainers because he likes the look of the trainers. Now, Darren, I send an email out every single day about what's happening in the Olympics and the tennis in the Olympics and the great things and what shoes they're wearing and what rackets they're using and everything like that. Darren's getting all of this stuff thinking, I love tennis. I love hearing this. This is so cool. Sam, on the other hand, is getting it thinking, what the hell? So to Sam, it's spam. To Darren, it's gold. So understanding that that spam argument is based on the context of the message to the person, right message, right time. That's what it's all about. So I wanted to just bring to you the fact that that's what we've got now. That's where we need to go. And how that works and how that looks physically in terms of a send schedule looks like that. Now, Darren, this is the part that I find is really difficult to get people like yourself to talk about, because this is almost like it's like swearing, dubious data. Okay, you hate it, everybody hates it, but we recognize we've got it. So when we spoke about this before, you said something and I was like, holy moly, that's brilliant, what a great idea. So let's talk about the things that you do to send to dubious data.
Sure. So I know the idea that we discussed. So it's like this. So here's a good example. So yes, you are sending to cold data, and as the top 4 tips, sort of say, they explain, clean your data, filter your data. But it's number 3 that's really important. So a high prominence call to action, high prominence CTA. So what you're doing is that you are sending to that person. You've got a beautiful campaign, beautiful content that has managed to get that person interested, so they've opened your email. What the call to action does, if you put a high prominent call to action in there, just to say something, well, if you are not interested in this email, please click here to unsubscribe. Now, I know that unsubscribe is not good and it's not what you want. However, if we're going to talk about this from a reputation standpoint, it works in your favor, because it works twofold in your favor. So you've got the open, because the person has opened and looked at your email. But if they're not interested, they've also hit that call to action to say unsubscribe. Now, to the ISPs and things like that, that's seen as engagement. So you've got the open and you've got the click, and that's what they want to see. So they can see that, right, this is a good sender. This person has got this high engagement point from this mail. So anytime that you will send to that business or to that person, once again, you will go straight through and there wouldn't be any problems, because they can see that it's wanted. And that's some of the kind of tips and things like that you need to think about when you are cold sending. And then obviously, point number 4, segment based on activity, as Adam beautifully explained with the cadence and versus spamming argument as well.
Yeah, so that was really interesting to me. So the first thing, just running through those top tips, we've all done it before. We've all got purchase data. Well, in B2B world, that is. B2c, don't be buying data. But if we've got purchase data, it's not saying that you can't use it, but consider those cadences. And one of the things that we found, well, firstly, clean it. So technology exists out there. We've got it within our feature stack where we can clean your data, hopefully, and get it pretty good. So we can check that we've seen these bounces before. Get rid of it, clean those data. We can take that care of that. Next thing is throttle your campaign. So if I've got 10,000 records that I bought, fine, not a problem. I'm going to send it out over a schedule. And I'm going to not go, bang, there's 10,000 emails out the door. I'm going to send 500 an hour or 250 an hour or 100 an hour between 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. And what that's going to do is it's going to help me understand, firstly, if I encounter a problem, before I've totally ruined my reputation, I can turn it off and go back to my data provider and say, this data's terrible. Look at all the spam complaints. Look at all the bounces. Look at everything that I've got. Get my money back, hopefully. But then if I throttle it and it's going well, but then all of a sudden it hits a blip, I can isolate some data that's potentially dubious. I'm not going to be able to isolate the record, but I can say something in that batch was dubious. So let's delete it from our database and carry on with what we've got. The next thing, as Darren said, that highly prominent CTA, I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. That's so cool, because what it's going to do is it's going to get that click. And so, all right, they're unsubscribed, we can't talk to them anymore, but everybody else in the list is benefiting from that engagement that user gave. No, it's not for me. Not for me. And everybody can respect that, and I think the ESPs are probably saying, look, I respect you. You're taking them, you're giving them the option. First off, not a problem. I get it. And then segment based on the activity. So as quickly as you can, you've bought this data, you've executed once, use it again quickly. I'm not saying ram it out the channels again, throttle it again, but keep it rolling and segment those that are engaging. From cold data, we're sending to say 10,000, for argument's sake, round numbers. You'll tend to be able to identify 500 that are ready to move into one of your engaged segments. 9,500 need to stay in that slow throttle cadence. And again, automation is about looking through these audiences constantly and moving people into the engagement. So you're not bothered. You don't care. You just know that in your engaged base, you don't know how they got there. You know, the systems are looking at that. But you in your engaged base, you've got this many and you're executing these comps. So I really like that. And I want you to all say, you know, quite often in our sales process, we often get that as an objection in saying, from a B2B perspective, do you allow purchase data into your database? Or will you turn us off if we hit that bounce rate? And our view is no, we don't. Yes, we do allow purchase data because it's legal. But what we do is slightly differently. And we say, look, best way to do it is going to be like this. That's absolutely what we're going to do. We're going to show you how to use that data effectively. Now, that's what it's all about. Are we going to turn you off if you hit a certain threshold of poor activity? Again, no. Now, we're going to give you a warning, and we can say, hey, that wasn't cool. What just happened there? Let's try and fix that. Let's see if that's as a result of something you did there. Let's try and repair it and see what happened. We can look behind the curtain, find out exactly what went wrong, give you advice and fix it. You do it again, we might say, whoa, what's going on? We talked about this. Third time, we're saying, come on, you know, and that's when we have to act, because that's when really you could be starting to damage what's going on, we've got going on. So we have to act upon this, but we're there to help you. That's the difference. So Mailchimp, I remember the old days. Oh my God, we can't send on a Mailchimp anymore. They've turned us off. Oh, okay, go campaign monitor. 3 weeks later, they've turned us off. And you know that now you just bounce from ESP to ESP. That now it's just a warning sign. You have to fix something. There's something that's wrong. So the whole point about purchasing cold data is, look, it's doable. It's perfectly doable. We have a panel of suppliers that we use. And we say, look, if we'd rather, because we know how this works, we'd rather you use one of these panels. We've got quite a broad selection and we can introduce you to lots of different people. But, you know, I do believe businesses should own their TAM. I do believe that as a B2B organization, you should investigate other businesses that could buy your product and have a compelling argument. Do we use Cognizant? Yeah, we do actually use Cognizant. We use Cognizant. They're one of our panel. There's quite a large selection of them, but Cognizant, you know, just like anybody else, is just an opportunity to acquire your TAM. They are pretty good at it because you know, you draw down small quantities, which I like. You're not buying 100,000 records and then bang, that's my problem. You'll draw down 1,000 a month or something like that, so you've got time to clean it, and the overall percentage is pretty low. I want to quickly talk, I'm really conscious about time now, guys. I'm really sorry about this. We have stretched over. I want to talk about email very quickly. How's email going to help that deliverability argument? And the one thing I say is emails, say one thing and say it well. So I think it was Oliver, you said at the beginning about this email, about the newsletter. I think that flies directly in the face of this. And we always recommend that it's 10 words, one button. 10 words, one button. And if you can get what you want to say in those 10 words, one button, that's going to mean that the recipient has got the best possible chance of understanding what you're trying to say, and you'll get that engagement. The other thing is the open doesn't come until they click download pictures. So you're not registered, even though they've opened the email. If the pictures aren't there, they've not opened the email in the eyes of the ESP. So this email, for example, is largely HTML. So it would render pretty well as without the images. So our advice is try to offload as much of the messaging into the text as you possibly can. Simplify it. 10 words, one button. I know we've got words below the button. I'm happy with that. I don't mind that. But what I want is I've got the bulk of what I want to say done within those 10 words, one button. If I'm creating 2 buttons, I'm creating choice. I'm asking for the recipient's brain horsepower to make a decision, which I, as a marketeer, should have understood which one you're going to prefer. It's really difficult to do, but I'd rather send 2 emails on a schedule than 1 email with 2 buttons, because it don't create that choice. So that's, I think, is a really important message. So listen, there's loads of things that we've talked about, and I'm sorry that we've had to skip along quite quickly there. But we're going to send out these slides. But if anybody wants to know, okay, what you've been talking about, are we so much more money than Mailchimp or whatever? Download our price guide, take a look and see what you think. We're all about helping you guys. But I want to open it. I'm okay for the next 10 minutes or so. So if anybody's got any questions that they want to ask Darren and I whilst we're here, we're more than happy. But if you want to find out how much Force 24 costs. You get your little smartphone out or your big smartphone, it doesn't really matter. You swipe, get your camera up, and then it'll pop up a QR code. And that'll tell you about it. And then we're on your side. We're there to help you. But has anybody got anything that they're facing at the moment that they've got a question about, or they'd like to have a one-to-one with us that would like to talk about a specific issue that they're facing and want to know what's the best way to fix it? Is there anything anybody wants to ask? Get those fingers out onto the keyboard. Anything, anybody at all? Sam, are there any preloaded questions that you want to cover?
No, I don't think so. Let me just have a quick once over. I think you've covered most of them already, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks like it. Look, if anybody's got anything, our door is always open, and please, please, please feel free to go and have a chat to one of our team, and we can help you out with anything that you're facing that's particularly tricky. So if there are no further questions, Your Honour, just saying thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Then that would be absolutely great. Please get in touch. All right, guys, I'll stop the share. Q&A, I'll answer that one. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll be back in touch pretty soon. Take care. Bye-bye.